I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review styles of movies that I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult-style flicks. And this week, I'm reviewing a movie I loved from my childhood. This movie was made in 1992. It was directed and written by Bruce A. Evans, and co-written and produced by Reynold Gideon, and also produced by Dino De Laurentiis. Made by Evans Gideon Inc., and distributed by Universal Pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, Kuffs. The movie opens with the lead of the film, George Kuffs, played by Christian Slater, getting a bomb dropped on him by his girlfriend Maya, played by Milla Jovovich.
I'm pregnant, George.
Are you sure?
Guessing this wasn't a planned pregnancy. George Kuffs starts talking to the audience about his girlfriend Maya being pregnant.
I've got women to do, places to see.
Good dude. He starts going into the BS reasons that she'd be better off without him.
I didn't even graduate high school. And she's still in college. How the hell would I support her, huh?
Milla Jovovich is playing a college student. But when she was cast in this movie, she was only 15. When it was being filmed, she was 16. By the time it was released, she was 17. Which means all the guys that used to watch this and freak out over this scene of her walking around in her underwear, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves.
When I do leave her, don't think I'm too big of a cretin, okay?
Too late. Then we go to some scrolling text telling us about the San Francisco patrol specials, where private citizens can buy districts, where merchants of those districts can pay them for police protection. They're not officially a part of the San Francisco Police Department, but they are deputized by them. They can patrol in their district, but only in their district. This is a thing they still do in San Francisco. Yes, they have the option of the regular police department, but they also have the patrol specials. Although, in 2022, reports are saying that this might actually come to an end in the near future. Then we see one of the patrol specials, who is also the owner of this district, Brad Kuffs, the older brother of George, trying to stop a robbery at a paint store.
I told you to stay out of the car!
He's outnumbered. At least you got one of them. Little tidbit, she has absolutely no lines in this movie, but the wife of the paint store owner was played by Ashley Judd. This was her first film. The townspeople are upset about how the district is going down the tubes. The crime rate is at an all-time high. Everybody is getting their businesses torn apart by this one gang. Brad tells them in order to combat this, he's having everybody, including himself, double up on their shifts to help minimize response time. And not only this,
I'm trying to hire another guy.
you should hire Chuck Norris. You'd only need him for like an hour. If not Chuck Norris, maybe a certain Mr. Ryder Strong. Now back to George.
You might be a little curious about this turkey here.
The only thing I'm curious about is whether or not I'm going to get some of that turkey. Apparently it's Brad's birthday, and turkey is his favorite food. So, as a nice birthday surprise, George is going to cook that turkey for him.
Then I'm going to try and squeeze him for another loan.
Sounds like my family. In fact, sometimes I think the family should change its last name from Martinez to Lemmy. But then George drops the turkey.
No!
All those sandwiches! At dinner, that Brad has to pay for, George mentions a gold rush in Brazil that he wants to go be a part of. He just needs $4,000 for expenses.
$4,000?
Yeah.
Right.
The answer is no. Brad is trying to get George to come work for him. Tells him how he needs help. His district is being terrorized by a gang. And the leader of the gang even met with him.
Essentially, he asked me to look the other way while he ripped up my district.
But George has other plans.
I want the big score. I want the brass ring, the pot of gold, and then I want to retire.
Sounds like people I know that moved to Reno because they think they're going to hit $1 million on a nickel slot. Not going to happen. Brad, as his tradition, goes into a church before his shift. Meanwhile, George goes to talk to us.
After our parents died, he got stuck with the thankless job of raising little old me.
Yeah, you did a great job. You're unemployed, didn't finish high school, ditched your pregnant girlfriend, and now you're living off of your brother. Inside the church...
You should have taken the money.
Outside, George hears this. So, of course, he runs in to see what's going on, and he sees the gangster Kane there, holding the gun, who just puts it down and walks away. Although I'm pretty sure that in real life, a gangster who's willing to kill an officer of some sort would kill any witness that walked in. But hey, if he did that, we wouldn't have a movie. As George is at the hospital with Brad waiting to see what happens, Captain Marino from the San Francisco Police Department comes and asks him to come down to the police station for a lineup. Of course, at the lineup, Kane is there, and George immediately identifies him as the man who shot his brother. But then, the district attorney notices a problem in George's statement. George admits that where he walked in and saw him holding the gun, he did not see him actually pull the trigger.
I can't hold him.
Without actually seeing it, it's hearsay, his word against his, so even though he's a witness that says he's holding a gun, there's no witness to this shooting. Sadly, it is how the justice system goes. Guilt's only what can be proven, so Kane is being let go. And now for some more good news.
The hospital just called. Brad's dead.
After Brad's funeral, and I mean literally right after, George is leaving the cemetery.
My name is Sam Jones. I understand that your brother left you his district.
Is this really an appropriate time for this?
I want you to consider selling it to me.
Don't do it, George. You can't trust a guy with the name Sam Jones. It sounds made up. That sounds more made up than Ken Adams, Regina Phalange, Dave Franco.
I'll give you $100,000 now and $1,000 a month for the next 2 years.
Screw the made up name. Sell. But George doesn't right then and there. He says he needs to think it over. Then, one of Brad's officers, Bill, wants to talk to George about selling the business to him. He's got experience, he knows how to run things, and he's willing to make him a good offer. But George decides he actually wants to keep the business and take on the job of a patrol special himself.
I'm gonna be your boss, Bill.
You're gonna what, kid?
That's gotta hurt. Bill and George go to talk this over with Captain Marino. Bill is really protesting this, but Kuffs says he's gonna do it. He's gonna go to the academy during the day and patrol with somebody during the night, like Brad wanted him to.
Did you graduate high school?
Yes?
Liar!
Bill, this is his district. There's nothing I can do about that.
But Captain Marino himself has something to say to Kuffs.
Will you understand that I don't want you here either?
And how do you feel about that, George?
Well, it's good to know I have a loyal support team.
Exactly. It's always good to make a big decision like this in your life and have people around you that support you. So now, Kuffs goes to the academy.
Why are we doing so much running? Aren't we all gonna be in cars?
But one good thing, it turns out that Kuffs, who's never shot a gun in his life, is a natural. But what they don't point out in this movie is being a natural with a gun is not all about how you shoot, it's about knowing how to handle a gun safely. Captain Marino pairs Kuffs with a police officer, Ted Bukowski, played by Tony Goldwyn, to keep Kuffs in line and to ensure that he does not try to go after Kane.
You must have messed up pretty bad to deserve me, huh, kid?
I mean, well, did you see Ghost?
In the next 2 weeks, if you do anything that makes me look bad, I'll break you in half.
I think Ted likes him. Before they go on patrol, Kuffs excuses himself to go to the bathroom and ends up getting himself and Ted a cup of coffee. In Ted's, though, he adds a few pills. Which I know it's messed up, but hey, at least he didn't put sweet and low. Problem is, Ted isn't drinking his coffee.
I don't like hot coffee, I like cold coffee.
Why not, Ted? Does hot coffee hurt your uterus? Kuffs spots Kane and wants to go follow him. Almost gets them into an accident while doing it.
Follow the guy!
Did you see a crime being committed? Did you see a crime?
What the kind of noise is that? Basically, Ted is mad at him for trying to follow Kane.
I'll turn this car around and let's get back on your patrol.
They did this to poke fun at PG-13 ratings and how many curse words they were allowed to put in an actual movie. Because they do put a few. But then one of Kuffs' customers is getting robbed.
How much do you want to bet it's Kane? How much do you want to bet?
$1 billion.
Shouldn't have done that because, based on the description of the gang and the car, it was Kane.
You owe me $1 billion.
Kuffs says he's gonna go get Kane, but Ted is telling him the description alone is not enough. So now Ted has to keep Kuffs from going after Kane. But right now, Kuffs is a little difficult to persuade. While they're fighting, a couple of other police officers show up.
You're already on probation. I'll run your ass in for assaulting another officer.
But Kuffs covers and says they weren't really fighting. Ted was just showing him some self-defense moves. Smooth. Because of this, Ted is grateful.
But you know where this Kane guy lives.
Very grateful. While they're staking out Kane, Kuffs asks Ted, "Why are you on probation?" Turns out it was for moral turpitude. Kuffs asks, "Would you sleep with the captain's wife or something?"
The Chiefs.
Even worse. Kane finally moves, And while they are following him, Ted Bukowski finally starts drinking his coffee, because it's cooled down enough to where it won't hurt his little throat. Like, seriously, Ted. That's how a man drinks coffee. Not gonna be able to taste anything later. But now Kuffs is getting a call about a jumper on one of his clients' buildings. And just as he's getting this call, he sees Kane meeting with Sam Jones, handing off something to him. So, ignoring the call, Kuffs goes after Sam Jones. And of course, Ted is trying to catch Kuffs because they need to go answer that call. And just as they're chasing him... of all the darn luck. Sam Jones gets away, and Ted regains his composure just enough to tell Kuffs they have to go answer this call. It's one of his clients. He's being paid for this.
I'm all right.
Is he, though? These pills are having a very odd effect on Ted. He's freaking out. Probably because he mixed the pills with cold coffee. If it was hot coffee, perhaps that would have killed it enough to where you would have just been a little drowsy. Got cold. I swallowed some. I think I'm getting ovaries. And wouldn't you know it, Kuffs is now regretting that he drugged him.
Wake up, come on, Ted. I don't know what the hell to do with a jumper.
Ted is passed out. Kuffs is on his own. He has no idea what to do with this jumper. Not to mention, while going up to the building...
Kuffs?
Maya.
Wouldn't you know it?
Oh, you remember Robert?
This is really not the time for this. And the building owner agrees. But like I said, Kuffs just does not know what to do with this jumper.
Look, if you're gonna jump, jump. Otherwise, use the bridge like everybody else.
You know, that's probably not in the handbook. But the jumper starts coming back to the window. Although he hasn't changed his mind.
You cop, die.
You know, I can understand it. In the 90s, a lot of people wanted to shoot Christian Slater. Winona Ryder did. Heather's was awesome. Turns out, though, Kuffs is okay. The bullet didn't hit anything vital, and it just went straight through. But Maya still went to the hospital to make sure he was alright.
When I saw you coming down that stretcher, I almost died.
Admit it, you were kind of hoping he died. Kuffs, of course, changes the subject and asks if Robert knows about the baby.
I don't need Robert, and I don't need you.
See, you wanted him dead. But now, think about this. Since you know he has a job, child support! So now Kuffs catches the audience up to what happened to Ted.
Ted got suspended. He doesn't know that yet. He's still asleep.
What are these pills? I want to sleep like that. When Kuffs gets home, Kane's in his apartment.
I'm sorry you think I killed your brother. I didn't.
Well, now that that's cleared up, Kane is there to offer Kuffs a bribe, like he offered to his brother, telling him most of the services we'll want from you is just simply looking the other way, while him and his gang destroy his district. Kuffs right now is financially destitute. He doesn't have a lot of money, he's about to lose the business just on default, so he agrees to the bribe. And Kuffs has figured out what's going on. That Kane is basically destroying all the properties around them to get the owners to sell and reduce prices because Sam Jones does not want to pay top dollar. Which is a sick thing that rich people have done in the past, where they've introduced drugs or some kind of crime into areas just so the prices will go down. When Kuffs gets back to the office, his customers and his employees are there to tell him they want him out. Telling him they don't care if he keeps the business, but they want him to quit the job and get somebody better to run it. He offers them a deal, though. If Bill can beat him in a fight, not only will he resign, but Bill can have the business for free. However, if he wins the fight, then they get on board as him being the boss. Bill is excited about this idea. He can beat Kuffs. He's a skinny little 21-year-old punk, and Bill is a big, former two-time Golden Gloves champion. Right in his...
Captain Winky!
They teach you that in boxing class? Kuffs sees Kane at a store and goes inside. Kane is there, threatening the owner, Mr. Chang, about selling his business that he doesn't want to sell. So Kuffs steps in.
We had a deal, kid. I paid you this morning.
Yeah, turns out he took your illegal bribe, but didn't fulfill his illegal obligations. Take him to court. Kuffs makes him leave.
You might not live to regret this.
Of course he will. He's the lead. After this, Kuffs goes home and he's celebrating, excited, because Maya agreed to come over and have dinner with him. He's gonna make a turkey. Finally! While he's cooking, there's a buzz at the door. Must be Maya. Maybe not. Kuffs is running away from the gunfire while trying to get to his own gun. When he finally gets to it... Yeah! But is he dead? He is now. But the real question in all of this... What kind of freaking dork wears a shirt with his own picture right on the front? Just then, Maya shows up with her parents. And neither her nor her parents seemed all that concerned with the fact there are bullet holes all over his door. He doesn't want them to come in for obvious reasons.
Not having too much luck with turkeys now, am I?
It's because dinner's ruined. Not just the turkey, but I'm sure the dead body isn't good for the atmosphere. They come in anyways, and then there's another buzz at the door. Kuffs tells them all, go to the bedroom, this might be dangerous. It's not dangerous though, it's Captain Marino and Kuffs' banker. They too didn't seem concerned about the bullet holes at first either. The reason they were there is because the banker wants the $50,000 that Kuffs owes him for change of ownership. The banker was so impressed with Kuffs that he is willing to work with him, taking a $10,000 down payment and making payments later on that $50,000. Not only this, but Captain Marino can't help but agree with Kuffs that this needs investigating, so he asks Captain Marino for a search warrant and for him to lift Ted's suspension.
Can't reinstate Ted. The chief's wife just moved in with him.
I think it's time that Ted looks for a new career. Maya's parents go home and her and Kuffs salvage the evening together, going around, staying up all night, talking, admitting their love for one another.
You're gonna have to make up your mind someday, George.
In my opinion, it should have been a no-brainer. The next morning, Maya goes home, Kuffs goes to the office, and when you know it, Sam Jones is waiting for him there with a police officer. Sam Jones had done some digging and found out that Kuffs does not have a high school diploma.
You lied on your application, defrauded the city of San Francisco?
Shoulda went out and got your G-freaking-E-D! Like me. The officer is going to arrest him for fraud, but Kuffs again pulls the whole I need to use the bathroom thing, but really goes upstairs to talk to Doug, the narcotics guy.
Well, this here is Thunder. Doug loaned him to me.
My wife would die to have one of those dogs. Kuffs is taking the dog to go investigate a Chinese laundry that Sam Jones is running out of. But first he goes to see Ted.
What's that?
Ted says no.
If I get killed or something, it's not going to be your fault that I was there all alone.
That doesn't sway him. Captain Marino has a suspicion about Sam Jones.
Let's give Kuffs a couple of hours, see what he turns up. Might be good for all of us.
Wait a second. Did we finally see a movie where all the pieces that are coming together show that something fishy is going on, so they actually allow the rules to get bent just a little, just enough so they can find out what's going on and give the good guy a chance? This is like the movie equivalent of finding Bigfoot at the laundry.
You believe this stuff's worth $50 million?
Kuffs doesn't find drugs, he finds works of art. Stolen works of art. And just as he finds them...
Just getting it for you.
For Sam Jones, though, it's not just about the stolen art and him buying up the town. It's gotten personal.
Ken was my best friend. We grew up together.
Well, to be fair, Kane did kill his brother, so...
Why don't we call it even, huh? Hey.
I guess not. Ted has a change of heart, but his car won't start. So his girlfriend, who is still legally the chief's wife, offers her car to him, which is still legally the chief's car. So he gets into the chief's car and goes to help Kuffs. When he gets there, Kuffs is gagged, so he can't yell, which is unfortunate because there's a bomb about to go off. So Kuffs' new idea is to get the dog to howl. Classic. Thankfully, he does get the dog to howl, which alerts Ted to come in and get them out of there.
What?
Do they have time to get out? No, but hey, it's movie magic. Even though they're safe, Ted is freaking out because after the bomb went off, the chief's car caught on fire.
Man,
It's the cheese car!
I'm just saying, Ted. Walmart's hiring. Now the both of them are going to go get Sam Jones. But first they need some guns.
Let's take it out of the billion, you homie.
You should have known that would have come back to haunt you. Just as Sam Jones is wrapping up his dealings...
Sammy, how are you?
God must love fools.
Let's hope so. They have a little standoff until the bell tower rings. Ah! It was a firefight! Luckily, the other patrol specials were alerted and come in for backup. But Sam Jones is getting away. So naturally, Kuffs goes after him. When Kuffs finds him... turns out Jones had found him first. But it's okay. Kuffs is the hero in this movie. I mean, seriously, if he dies, who's gonna narrate? Which, as we're coming to an end, he does narrate.
Yeah, I decided to stay in San Francisco and marry Maya.
Well, it's about time. That's their daughter, Sarah. He also explains that he took the high school equivalency test so he could keep the business.
Believe it or not, I actually passed the thing.
It's not that hard.
See ya.
So there you have it. That's the classic, Kuffs. One of my favorite Christian Slater movies ever. And again, I gotta be fair, that's not a very long list. This movie had a $12 million budget and did $21.1 million in the box office. Making money, but not performing as well as they had hoped. The movie received mixed reviews. Most critics just really couldn't get over the fact that it wasn't the most original movie out there. Which, I agree to that. It's not the most original movie ever, but it has some original elements to it. Which is kind of the best we could hope for. And I will say this, it irritates me how critics get on them for non-originality, but praise all the stupid remakes going on right now. One of the biggest criticisms, though, was the way that this movie would go back and forth from being humorous to being extremely serious. That one I can't really get on board with. I kind of liked that, because that's life. Gets humorous, gets serious. And sometimes they mix in. But they said it was hard to take the humor seriously with all the dark elements going on, like his brother dying and all that. Again, I disagree, because again, that's kind of life. My personal feeling on it is they did a nice balance of humorous and serious. Humorous enough to where it's entertaining and fun, but serious enough to where we don't lose sight of the drama of the script. The overall consensus between the critics, though, was... it was okay. This script was specifically written for Christian Slater. They wrote it with the intention of casting him, and he took the role because of previous things he had been doing. He wanted to avoid having to use an accent or having to worry about any historical accuracy. I don't see why he worried about any of those things. The accent thing, he's talking about how he was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where he didn't use an accent. But then again, neither did Kevin Costner, who is the lead playing Robin Hood. So who cares? As far as the historical accuracies, I don't get why you're worried about that either. He's talking about, before this, he was in Young Guns 2, which is not very historically accurate. But then again, most period pieces are not historically accurate at all. Nobody cares. But whatever, at least it led to him making Kuffs. Although the original title of this movie was supposed to be called Gun for Hire. I like Kuffs better. Even though it is kind of formulaic. I mean, you got a last name like Kuffs, you become a police officer of some sort. So luckily for him, his name wasn't George Gynecologist. Some of the casting decisions were interesting. For example, Ted Bukowski being played by Tony Goldwyn. They originally wanted Fisher Stevens, who at the time was mostly known for doing the Short Circuit movies, to play Ted Bukowski, but they decided on Tony Goldwyn because he actually had a lot of momentum, having just come off of doing Ghost, which was a big, huge hit. And Tony Goldwyn was happy to do it because he was worried that after doing Ghost, he was going to get typecasted as a bad guy. And he got to play a good guy in this. A good guy who can't handle hot coffee. Yeah. I put it in the microwave. Not only that, but the casting decision of Mila Jovovich. Some people have now criticized the fact that they had such a sexual character being played by a teenager. What they need to remember is that at the same time as filming Kuffs, she was going back and forth shooting Return of the Blue Lagoon, where it was a lot more sexual. The worst that happened in this movie is we find out she was pregnant while she's walking around in her underwear. In retrospect, get over it. Ultimately, though, I think Kuffs was a very good movie, and I think it's aged just fine. It's obviously a 90s movie and will always be a 90s movie, but in my opinion, a really good 90s movie. A movie that could be compared to something like Beverly Hills Cop, but also has its own distinct feel, and its own distinct humors, and its own distinct story. Thrown in with some cliche elements, of course, but again, ultimately done very well. So, in my opinion, if you haven't seen Kuffs, then it's time you go out and see Kuffs. It's action, it's comedy, it's fun. I love this movie. So there you have it. That's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Kuffs. Love you guys.